Alex, thank you so much, and welcome to the 2021 Texas Football Orange and White game presented by Living Spaces. Beautiful day in Austin, Texas for a debut, and that's exactly what we have coming up, the beginning of the Steve Sarkisian era at the University of Texas. That is headline number one coming into this spring game today. Early January, Sark hired to follow Tom Herman, hired in Texas and wins the Natty at Alabama. He has to replace some key leaders, including Ellinger, Cosby, Osai, Stearns, all off to the NFL draft. He's also got to find a quarterback to roll with. Will it be Casey Thompson or Hudson Card? Will this game be a factor in that decision? And he brings in the 15th ranked recruiting class by the ESPN 300. Jatavion Sanders, a big part of that. We will not see him until the summer. I'm Lowell Galindo here with the former Heisman winning quarterback from Houston, Andre Ware. Hey, you're loving this because we're talking quarterbacks trying to win over an offensive-minded head coach in Sarkisian. They know all about his offensive resume the past 2 seasons, engineering the most prolific offenses in Alabama history.
Yeah, and he's a coach, Lowell, that gets the best and the most out of each individual player, knows how to put them in a position to maximize their athletic ability. And you're talking about one of the best play callers in all of college football. This was an outstanding, and I mean outstanding, hire for the University of Texas.
And he has not come in, kicked down the door, and blown things up. It has been very positive in the way he has taken over this Texas program. He could sling it back in the day, the 96 WAC Offensive Player of the Year with that prolific offense at BYU. Learned a lot with multiple stints under Pete Carroll, won a Natty. Then took a winless team at UW and made them a factor in the Pac-12. Went to USC, a couple seasons there, had some personal issues, had to get that right. He did. Nick Saban gave him a shot past 2 seasons, the highest scoring offenses in Alabama history, and he was the man named the head coach on January 2nd to take over on the 40 acres. Now, you look at that lineage and you say, okay, Matt Leinart, Jake Locker, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones. All right, you need a quarterback, Sark. Who's going to be the quarterback in year number one?
Well, it's hard to really nail it down because there is a quarterback competition. Obviously, with the transfer rules, you're going to keep that close to vest as a head coach. But right now, Casey Thompson, I'm watching warm-ups. I'm watching film of last year's Alamo Bowl, bouncing around, completing passes, the leadership that he's displayed throughout this program and his time as a first-team guy. And then, you know, you look at Hudson Card. Has all the ingredients to be great. He just needs an opportunity on the field to prove it to his teammates. I think Casey Thompson's done that. Card has got to do that at some point here this afternoon.
It's going to be a very basic offensive approach in this game.
Yeah.
So we'll see a lot about the talent, the competition that both of these guys bring to the table. Flip the coin, pick your poison. Is it going to be Thompson or Card? For more on the quarterback battle, let's welcome in Don Davenport.
Yeah, Lowell, Andre, for Coach Sark, it's been the focus and the work ethic that has stood out to him in both of these quarterbacks. And for Casey Thompson, that started the day that Sark was hired. He said he had just wrapped up a football camp with his dad. He heard the news. He immediately texted athletic director Chris Del Conte to get Sark's number and then fired off a series of texts. Hey, can I get the playbook? What do I need to do to learn your offense? Now, Coach Sark told me that it was funny. Just 4 days prior, he had watched the second half of that Alamo Bowl and saw Casey Thompson's performance. So his response to him was, hey, congrats on a great performance in that bowl game. He was impressed. Now, both of these quarterbacks have attacked this competition. I thought it was interesting, though. Offensive coordinator Kyle Flood told us that this is a healthy competition. He said these guys are pushing each other. Yes, they're making each other better, but here's the important thing. They are also making this entire team better, guys.
Well, big question is, what will this offense look like under Sarkisian? Really, the first step in that is to figure out who the quarterback is, and then the offense will be built around those different skill sets, whether that is Casey Thompson or Hudson Card. We got some special rules because it's the spring game, but we all know, Andre, it really doesn't matter. Let's just score some points and let's have some fun with this. 4 quarters, 15 minutes. We're going to have the rolling clock except for the final 4 minutes of the half. No contacts on kickoffs, fair catch only on punts. You ready to do this, Andre?
Let's do it. Let's roll it out. Let's see, this is a culmination of the off season, the weight program, going through 15 hard practices every morning, getting up, making yourself a better player, trying to chase down or prove to the new coaching staff that you're better than the guy that you were brought in with. And as well, trying to chase down veteran guys to win a starting spot. This is where it starts when you get to put on a game day uniform in front of a crowd in this type of atmosphere.
Cameron Dicker to kick it away. Bijan Robinson is there, but this is way out of the end zone. And they will have the simulated kickoff return. And the white offense will take over at the 30-yard line. So when you separate these teams, the way it goes down is Casey Thompson is going to quarterback the orange offense to start the game off. That's the #1 offense. The white defense is going to be the #1 defense, but Sark does reserve the right to rotate the quarterbacks as this game goes on.
And what did he tell us the other day when we got a chance to visit with him was that, hey, we want competition, so we're going to go ones-on-ones. He's around Pete Carroll for a number of years, and Nick Saban. Hey, guys, good on good is what we're going to see here early.
And he was great when we last saw him in the Alamo Bowl. Speaking of great, Bijan Robinson not wasting any time at all, bouncing it outside and picking up about 9 yards before Deshaun Jamison brings him down. Talk about focal point of the offense. Whoever the quarterback is, it's going to be Robinson.
And it's that way for Sark in most places that he's been. It's the offensive line and then the running backs. Can they get it done? And then surround that group with talent.
Robinson has been jaw-dropping in this spring camp. Thompson to throw, feeling the pressure. Jacoby Jones is there. They do not blow it dead. Instead, that's a completion to Cade Brewer, but Jones was there in pursuit.
A nice job by Casey Thompson to buy himself some time, and that's the athletic ability that they rave about when you talk about that young man, is being able to escape. They bring a little bit of pressure off the edge. No problem for Casey Thompson. They escape left. Let's move the chains.
Thompson was 8 of 10 for 170 yards and an Alamo Bowl record 4 touchdowns all in the second half against Colorado. Another carry up the middle for Bijan Robinson, and it's going to be a two-headed monster because for as good as Robinson is, Roschon Johnson has been right behind him during the spring camp.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's playing for the white team, so it's basically direct competition against Robinson on the other side. And, hey, he wants to show Sark that I can step up, carry the load. Give me a little bit more than he gave Brian Robinson at Alabama.
2nd and 7 for Thompson. Gonna read it, throw right on the run, has a man, and it's Jordan Whittington. If he can stay healthy, sky is the limit for number 4.
Sometimes it's just about Lowell making it look easy, and that's what Casey Thompson is doing here early in this spring game, making it look easy. The nice throws. That's what we saw or got a chance to see against Colorado in the second half of that game.
Starting offensive line from left to right, Christian Jones, Denzel Okafor, Jake Majors, Junior Angulau, and Andre Karic. Play action. Looking for the end zone, has a man, Joshua Moore does not bring it down. Brendan Schooler converging on that to break it up. And yeah, that's right, Schooler now playing in the defensive secondary, making that transition from receiver a year ago.
Boy, and he has had a terrific spring. And Joshua Moore, that one on most days, 9 out of 10 days, that's a touchdown catch. Just couldn't reel it in as he contacted the ground, but what a throw by Casey Thompson.
And that is something that has really impressed Sarkisian the most about Thompson. His ability to hit the shot downfield, and that was on the money. This is now Gabriel Watson with the carry. Watson was a transfer last season from Sioux Falls, was a D2 standout, a finalist for the Harlan Hill back in 2018.
And not just hitting it, but the timing. And we had to get a moment here. I'd like to go back and take a look at the timing of when that ball came out, and that was intended for Joshua Moore. In the air, it's gone before the defensive back has a chance to really make a play on it. That's a huge advantage for the receiver when a quarterback can time it up that well.
Big 3rd and 6 for Thompson in the orange offense. Looking to his left, now back to the right. Watson on the check down, lowering the shoulder, bringing the boom as he bowls over Josh Thompson and converts.
Well, how about Troy O'Mary is out with, not 100% healthy knee, got a jersey on where they can't tackle him, but throws a nice block that allows Watson to pick up the first down and move the chains. That's what you want from receivers. You want to get a coach's attention, throw a block on the edge to free a guy up for a first down.
And we'll talk a lot about O'Mary and what he could mean for this Texas offense. 1st and 10. Inching closer to the red zone. Robinson back in, huge hole to the right side, a move, loses his footing as Chris Adamora was there, and the Longhorns in the red zone almost squeeze that into the end zone.
Let's go back and take a look at this run. Nice job of pushing the outside and the ability to cut back inside, making guys miss. This guy is the full package in Bijan Robinson.
Question Sarkisian asked aloud is, how do we get him as many touches as he needs, but touches in the right place to make explosive plays? Back to Robinson, patience. Oh, what a move! How did Bijan Robinson stay up?
Wow-wee.
The suddenness of the sophomore from Arizona on display on the opening drive of the 2021 spring game.
You talk about inheriting something special. Sark has inherited something truly special in Robinson, the running back. You need one to make his offense go. We will talk about that all afternoon long. An offensive line to aid him, and then some of it that's just pure athletic ability on the part of Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, the balance is uncanny. We have seen him take so many big hits and deliver some blows too in his first season, and he manages to stay upright. Orange offense going for 2 here. Thompson's gonna flip it over his head, and it's picked up by Chris Adamora. We saw him working on this in pregame. You were waiting for it.
Yeah, and I saw him line up in that formation. He completed 1 in pregame, but what a heck of a little trick play on a 2-point conversion.
The hook shot, not quite Kareem-esque. Good start, though, for the white offense.
Texas football on Longhorn Network is presented by Living Spaces. Buy it today, enjoy it tonight. And in part by Coors Light, official sponsor of the Texas Longhorns. And Whataburger, the perfectly spicy Buffalo Ranch chicken strip sandwich is back only at Whataburger.
So Casey Thompson gets the start with the orange team, drives them down the length of the field. 9 plays, 70 yards, and it's 6-0 orange team over the white after the opening drive. So Sarkisian showing off the prolific offense. It's already arrived here in Austin.
Yeah, he's talking about it being vanilla. Nothing vanilla about that first drive. Going deep on a shot to Joshua Moore, and then a big run by Robinson, and a little trick play on the 2-point conversion.
And here comes Hudson Card, redshirt freshman from Lake Travis, ranked as the #4 dual threat quarterback in America when he arrived in Austin at the University of Texas. Dump down pass here quickly. And that is Kai Money sending Michael Griffin celebrating on the sideline. Anytime Kai Money can get the football, my man Griff is a happy man.
Well, they're going to test Hudson Card early, bringing Anthony Cook off the edge, forcing him to get the ball out quick, passing the first test.
Different quarterbacks, different styles. Sarkisian says that Card has that rare quality, the ability to make all the throws from different platforms. Here's one of them, and that is dropped in and out of the hands of Marcus Washington.
Boy, I like the quick decisions by Hudson Card. Seeing coverage, and the ball is out. Defensive back to that side, Darian Dunn, is barely out of his back pedal. The ball's already halfway to the intended receiver, Marcus Washington.
And Darian Dunn, the grad transfer from McNeese, on the coverage there. 3rd and 5. And Card will scramble, throwing on the run, and out of the reach of Marcus Washington. Flag on the play, but that's also showing that athletic ability that Card has.
Yeah.
And Coach Sark even brought up Aaron Rodgers when he talked about that rare ability to make all the
Ineligible
throws.
player downfield. Offense number 85 was covered up on the line of scrimmage. Penalties declined. It's fourth down.
But all the throws from different platforms and arm angles when his feet aren't necessarily set.
In that case, rolling to his left, having to flick it back to a receiver crossing from right to left. It's a tough throw, but boy, does he have the arm talent to actually get it done. He made sure he told us he's not in that category yet, but he makes plays like that you could just give us something to imagine.
Dicker with the punt and contact on Joshua Moore. That will, of course, draw out a flag. And keep in mind, Dicker still handling the punting duties after Ryan Buchevsky tore his ACL at the end of last season.
He hit a couple in warm-up that I was wowed about. I mean, he hit a couple of big ones.
Interference on the kicking team, 15 yards from the spot of the foul. It's first down, Texas.
Well, the hits are coming, whether they are legal or not. Having some fun here in Austin, Texas. Casey Thompson back at it after the break. You can make the case that Steve Sarkisian is the head coach at Texas because Bijan Robinson did not get enough carries last season, especially early. And Andre, you look at Sark's teams and what he does, he identifies who gets the football and he rides his go-to players.
I felt like last year at Alabama, Najee Harris was the engine that made that Alabama offense work. And he was the primary ball carrier, accounting for 34% of Bama's running plays. 19.3 carries a game for Najee Harris. I'm going to go out on a limb that Bijan Robinson's going to get at the very least that many carries every week.
And another fine run on first down. Let's kick it down to Don Davenport.
Joked with us that he hadn't had a bad day since second grade because he's always so positive, but he said Bijan Robinson might be the only guy to have him beat. Just lights up a room, a natural charisma. Everyone gravitates towards him. He's demanding of his teammates, but really a positive person. I saw it in warm-ups as he was running up and down the sideline trying to amp up the crowd. Love this guy.
Tough not to like him, especially when you see the production he makes as he's gobbled up there. Jacoby Jones is at a strong start.
Yeah, Don, Lowell, how awesome was it to talk to Kyle Flood yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a positive coach. Boy, I could have sat with he and Sark, all day long, just going over football ideas and just listening to the guy talk and the positivity in which he coaches with, off the chain.
It's a very positive atmosphere right now around this program. Denzel Okafor even said that this is as positive as it's been in a while. Keandre Coburn said it's the first time he's had fun playing the game of football since high school. Sark is a big part of that. Thompson is pressured, throws it away, and Jones is there once again. So this goes back to another storyline. On the defensive side of the football, who gets pressure on the quarterback with no Joseph Osai? It was basically him, and that was it.
Yeah, he talked about Jacoby Jones really coming on as a pass rusher this spring and having to, really rely on him and some others. They're still kind of searching for who can get to the passer and make them uncomfortable.
Isaac Pearson from Australia on the punt, another product from Pro Kick Australia, like Buchevsky and Michael Dixon before him. Former coal miner punts it away. That's right.
Pretty
Pearson
good one.
was a coal miner for picking up punting, and that one went into the end zone for the touchback. Team Orange up on Team White in the spring game, 6-0, 6:31 left in the first quarter. Look at the new coaches on the 40 acres. Kyle Flood, offensive line coach, and OC Pete Kwiatkowski coming over from UW, University of Washington. Bo Davis was on staff back in the day here, coaching the defensive line. And great to see Blake Gideon back, 4-year starter, captain at safety for the University of Texas. And when he talks, his voice resonates. Got a lot of Texas ties here.
Yep.
And here's a quick little reverse. Moochie, Calvonte Dixon. Coach Flood was talking about his speed. He says, speed is real, and I will utilize that as much as I can in this game.
Got some guys tracking the ball and starting to hear Vernon Broughton showing up, hearing pads pop a little bit. Getting a little loose, some nerves early, but now it's just about playing football.
And that is Keontae Ingram's brother. Ingram is transferred to USC. So Kelvontae Dixon looking to make his own legacy.
Get your thoughts on something.
Yeah.
We'll get some time here.
There's Alvontae Willard. Quick pass from Card. What do you got?
I had a talk with Sam Pittman last week, Arkansas head coach. And we were talking about in a spring game, how about a spring scrimmage against someone else where you take a bus ride or they come in and you get a 1-1 and you're not playing that team for at least the next 4 or 5 years.
Ooh. Now,
you talk
was
about
Pittman in favor of that?
Oh, yeah, he was in favor. I've been in favor of it for a long, long time. The fans, I think, would absolutely eat it up and love it.
But here's the thing.
Players, trust me, would love to see a different uniform.
But if you're Steve Sarkisian, what's the last thing you want to do? Lose a spring game. As we see another drop, this time from Malcolm Epps.
But it also gives you a barometer in which to measure your team and what you need to work on. What do you have to cover over the summer as you get, move towards fall camp? I love the idea. I think it would be an absolute treat for the fans.
I love it too. How realistic would it be? I don't know.
You got to play at some point. You got to find out who you are. The better, the earlier, the better.
Well, we hear all the time how the spring game doesn't mean much. One thing the coaches are looking at, they're looking at some of these drops. That's now Epps.
Yep.
That's Washington. That's more in the end zone as well. There are things that coaches will take away from this game that will help them going into the fall.
That's why they can downplay it as much as they want. We're going to be vanilla. We're not going to look at this, that, and the other. Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are grading every single play, every block, every movement.
So if you are Sark, what are you liking so far?
I like the quarterbacks and the decision-making, and that's the story of the spring game. It's been the story of the offseason. I like both guys and their ability to read and get the ball out quickly. Some big plays were there, obviously, for Casey Thompson. He's made some great reads, and so has Hudson Card.
Thompson led the opening touchdown drive. Capped by an unbelievable move by Bijan Robinson. Went for the trick play for the 2-point conversion. Hook shot was intercepted by Adamora. So that's why we're at 6-0, and you can see the discrepancy with the yardage. The Thompson's team rolling. And there is Watson out of the backfield. Open field opportunity. And Tannehill, Love, and Deshaun Jamison are there. Interesting when we talk to Kyle Flood and Sarkisian about the offense revolves around who the guys are. He brought up with Tua, it was a lot of RPO.
Right.
Then when they went to Mac Jones, it was a lot of play action, more downfield passing. How do you think that changes, whether it's Thompson or Hudson Card at quarterback?
I think it's going to be more of a pocket type, more pro-style offense if it's Hudson Card. And Casey Thompson you can do a little bit more with in terms of putting pressure on a defense with all 11 players because he can get to the edges. 3rd down and 5. You can't just line up and go man-to-man because you better figure out where number 11 is if he breaks the line of scrimmage. So it's a good problem to have where you have two guys that are different. And he said if one's the starter over the other, they're going to look different offensively. So it's a really good problem to have because you have two guys that understand your system and they're both capable of going out and executing.
And they know they have the go-to running backs to build the offense around. Still a big question mark. Who's going to be the go-to receiver or receivers for this offense? Thompson stepping up off the hands of Watson.
That's one I got to believe that in a game in which he can be tackled, he tucks it and runs it.
And that's a real part of Thompson's game.
And that's the spring game. That's where, as a quarterback, hey, let them at least wrap me up, coach. They don't get to knock me out, but make them wrap me up so it's live football to me.
So this Texas receiving corps, coached up by Andre Coleman, who was the receivers coach under Tom Herman. He's got work to do, but there are some pieces here. We saw Jordan Whittington making a catch earlier. Joshua Moore, the leading returning receiver, and led in all the major categories, as Watson with another physical carry. Jake Smith should be a factor. He's out with a foot injury, suffered that in the very first spring practice. And Troy O'Mary, you were talking about him blocking earlier. O'Mary was the story of fall camp leading up to last season. He was going to be the go-to receiver with no Colin Johnson, no Devin Duvernay, but unfortunately tore the ACL in fall camp before he had a chance to get out on the field when it mattered.
I'll keep my eye on O'Mary because I pay taxes down in the school district where he went to high school. Good bit off.
Watson on 3rd down, and that's 1st down yardage. So the Orange offense now grounding and pounding with Gabe Watson. What do you think about O'Mary, though? The frame, the skill set, you're talking 6'3", 227.
Well, there's a guy that when you have that kind of range in terms of 6'3" in the body, you don't have to be perfect as a quarterback. You're just throwing it around the frame, and he can make plays. Great hands. Just got to get him healthy, get the knee back to 100%, and I think you're going to really have a big-time weapon.
And how many times has Sarkisian had to answer, who's going to be your Devontae Smith with this team? As that has put all the money on Casey Thompson to Joshua Moore. Moore typically comes up because he's got the size of Devontae Smith, but in reality, there's probably not one of those guys on the roster right now.
Not with that kind of speed, change of direction, all the talent. I mean, you're talking about a special player in Devontae Smith, but what a heck of a read there by Casey Thompson. Scanning the field from left to right, coming all the way back across to Joshua Moore. You know what that tells me? He is very in tune with the offensive system.
Another opportunity to look downfield. This will go as a sack to Jaron Thompson. The guy they call Bug comes up and makes a play. And he is the guy right now that's most vocal on the back end of the defense. He's the one getting the defense set. Different checks and coverages.
Well, how fired up are they about Jaron Thompson and the way they're going to utilize him? Kwiatkowski talked and just raved about Thompson's athletic ability.
First quarter in the books. Casey Thompson so far has been the story, engineering the lone scoring drive for the first quarter. Still work to do here in Austin. Welcome back to the orange and white game. We're in Austin, Texas. Lo Galindo here with Andre Ware and, of course, the head coach, Steve Sarkisian. Coach Sark, what have you seen so far that's impressed you?
Well, I think the first offense getting the ball there and driving down, I thought it was pretty effective run and pass. You know, you're also seeing some guys maybe a little bit anxious, so we need guys to settle down a little bit, catch the ball, and extend some drives there on the white team.
Will the goal line hook shot become a staple of your offense?
You know, here's the thing. I let Jeff Choate be the head coach of one team and Kyle Flood be the head coach of the other. They got one trick play. They both burned it. So Choater went for 2, not so effective. I don't know if we'll use that again.
Coach, we know how important Najee Harris was to your offense last year at Alabama. You've got a pretty good one in Bijan Robinson, who's done some special things here early in your your first spring game. Your thoughts on his performance?
Well, he's an electric runner, clearly. You know, I think it's the ability to make one cut and get vertical. He's got tremendous balance, and he's a bigger guy than you think. He can bounce off tacklers.
Well, Sark, we'll let you get back to it. We'll watch this spring game unfold. We do appreciate the time.
All righty. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
So another look there for Casey Thompson. That pass sails errant. And so Orange team will kick it away. Well, hey, at least we know the guys that get to be offensive coordinator and call the plays for this game, they're having some fun.
Yes, they are. And he mentioned it. They burned their trick play early. Make sure you get it in if you're gonna have them.
What is this? We are going way deep. Cameron Dicker is out for the field goal. It's up, 63 yards.
Long enough.
And it's good. Are you kidding me? Cameron Dicker from 63 yards out. Wow, he's got the leg.
His long last year was 53, just bested by 10 yards. How about that? You could tell that he hit it perfectly, and it was going to have enough distance. Was it going to be high enough to get over the goalpost?
Now check that, we're going with 58. We're going with 58 as the official distance, but that's still leg.
That's still leg.
That's leg for days. And Hudson Card with the hold there.
Thought for a minute another trick play was coming.
Oh yeah. Well, it looked like Dicker was out there just to punt the football away. And then Card comes running on the field for the hold. And 58 yards and good. And the Orange team is up 9-0. Card back to work with Daniel Young in the backfield. And This one is underthrown to Moochie Dixon, and we now welcome in our field analyst, Sam Acho. Sam, my first question to you, are you as much of a diva as your brother?
Not even close, not even close to as much of a diva, but I am standing next to Bevo. I'm still a little bit intimidated. I need y'all to watch my back. I will say this, I've been on the field, standing right behind Coach Sark, and yes, we want to know his personality. People want to know what he's like. This dude is detailed and passionate. There was a play with O'Meary, where he was yelling at him saying, you got to get it right. This dude is dialed in.
And there is Kai Money, and on the mark there from Hudson Card. How about, though, the atmosphere, the energy around this program right now, Sam? Because you and a lot of the former players have been out at practice. Describe the setting and what it's like.
Well, it's just a new kind of energy. There are many players who have come and said, man, we're having fun again. Players who've said, I want to come to work again. We heard from Keandre Coburn saying he wants to come to work. Other guys saying, we can't wait to play for this guy.
All right, from what you've seen so far, Sam, as Card throws downfield to Dixon in traffic to make the catch. Flag on the play. Sam, what quarterback has impressed you more?
So I've been impressed by Casey Thompson so far. Obviously, we saw Hudson skip one, a play earlier. Casey's really had command of this huddle, has command of this team. We saw that pass that was perfect in the first quarter. That was dropped by a phenomenal hit.
Defense, number 32. Penalties decline. Result of the play is a first down.
So Prince Dorba offside, so play will stand.
So we saw the phenomenal hit, like we said, from Brendan Schooler. So I've really been impressed by Casey Thompson. He's had command of this offense and command of the huddle.
Yeah, and as you say, that Card comes right back and throws an absolute dime to Kevontae Dixon, and who almost broke out of there. But this guy, you could see the arm strength. You could see why the coaching staff raves about his ability to throw the football. Fellas, this is long from over.
Oh, man, it's going to be a tough decision, too, because you talk about the upside and the things that Cart can do with the arm talent that a lot of guys simply can't. And Casey Thompson's been there. He's done that to some extent as Young gets the carry. But you've made the point. It's really, in a way, out of Sark's hands in terms of who wins the job.
Yeah, it really is, because the players, and Sam knows this more than anybody, the players will choose the quarterback. Especially the guys on the offense, even the defensive players will have some input and say, because the way he performs, the way he interacts with the team, wins the team over, believe it or not, the offensive unit will play harder for one guy over the other. It's just how it is and how it manifests itself. They will make the decision on who is the starting quarterback here at the University of Texas come September.
2nd and 6 for Card. He's got time. We'll scramble with it. He's got plenty of moves and legs as well. And that is Kai Money once again holding on to it with his shoulder pads.
And one of the things, even if you watch Hudson Card play, it's like he's got this quiet confidence. I'm here on the field, you watch him scramble, watch him move. He's not a guy who wants to run the ball. You can tell he wants to get the ball in his playmaker's hands. That's one thing I really love about watching Hudson Card play.
Is the quiet confidence enough, though, to win over a team, Sam?
Oh, absolutely. Players, I've been on this field. I've been in the NFL. Players want to play with guys who can win. I don't care if you're quiet, if you're loud, just win.
Results. That's all you want.
Card feeling pressure off the hands of Kai Money.
May have ruled that one a sack. Very, very close.
Vernon Broughton and Jeb Bush were both in. Sam, another big question, who's going to be the guy that gets the quarterback? What have you seen in that way from the defensive front?
Yeah, well, obviously, I love Ray Thornton, what he's done. He transferred from LSU. And if you go to this dude's Instagram profile, you will be inspired. This dude, I was Instagram stalking him for a little bit. I wanted to go play football again, so I like him. But then Jacoby Jones, man, this guy's got the moves. He's got the stuff that you look for. So I like both those guys.
Really flashed at moments last season, did Jacoby Jones, but also playing behind Osai, as Roshan Johnson picks up a nice chunk to make 3rd down a little bit more manageable here. Alfred Collins gets the stop. And
I mentioned, there's going to be plenty of carries for Roshan Johnson, because Brian Robinson, who played that second back to Najee Harris, he accounted for about 20% of the carries at Alabama in their running game last year. So there are going to be a ton of opportunities for Johnson as this season progresses.
And both should be featured in the passing game as well. Coaching staff really likes the hands of both Robinson and Johnson. 3rd and 7 for Card. Feeling pressure again, and this will be whistled down as a sack. Vernon Broughton, one of the young studs on the defensive line, getting in.
Yeah, he's played well. I mean, been around the football quite a bit. Made a big tackle. Talked about the pads popping, but Sark's going to talk about that play in the meeting room, where receivers and quarterback have to be on the same page. You recognize the blitz is coming, routes have to shorten, quarterback's got to be ready to get the football out so you don't take the sack and put this field goal range in jeopardy.
So Dicker, the kicker, lines up 39 yards out after hitting the 58-yarder and into the Longhorn. It's the feature of the new end zone, and Texas will take the field through coming up next season. 9-3, Team Orange.
Welcome back to a beautiful day here in Austin. Perfect day for some football. You know, we've talked all about quarterbacks in this quarterback battle, and it's all about the offense. It always is, right? Let's talk some defense, and let's talk with one of the studs of this Texas defense, and DeMarvion Overshawn, who actually is taken in this game from the sideline here right now as he is rehabbing that shoulder. DeMarvion, first, let's start with that. How are you feeling? How's that rehab going?
I'm feeling great. Progressing every week. Just ready to get back out there, but the shoulder's doing good, I'm doing good, and that's good.
So far, what have you seen from your defensive counterparts here in this one?
Both sides, they looking good. I'm happy to see them out there playing. I wish I was out there, but I see a lot of people flying around, getting to the ball, so that's always a good thing.
Of course, soon enough, right? So last year, predominantly three-man front defensively. This year, when you talk to fans, they want to know what this defense is. Will we see three-man front, four-man front? It seems like it's multiple, and there's a little bit of everything. So teach us, inform us what we can expect to see from you guys scheme-wise.
Well, when people ask me, I usually tell them Coach K is a genius. So he comes up with a lot of stuff. You can see 3, you can see 4. Sometimes you might even see 5 down there. So the things he can do with everybody, the 11 man that's on the field, moving people around, it's definitely going to be something to see this year. Keep your eyes open for everything, because you might not know. You might see a D tackle playing linebacker at one point.
Do you like that?
I love it. I love it.
So he had said the focus is attack the ball, get the ball, force turnovers. Do you guys feel that in practice, in meeting rooms, and even strength and conditioning work? Give us an example of how that is emphasized for you guys.
I feel that every meeting we start off by saying the key to winning the game is getting the ball. That either it's us scoring or getting it back to our offense. So we definitely have been emphasizing that the whole spring ball, and we had a lot of turnovers. So we've been getting the ball, strips, fumbles, interceptions. So that's basically been one of the main things about this spring, getting the ball back.
I said that we were not going to talk offense, but I have to give your take because you have been able to take in this quarterback battle from the sidelines. What have you seen from both of those guys?
I've seen both of them competing every day. You see them both early here, talking to each other, teaching each other what they can do better on. So the competition is definitely real in the quarterback room. And just like all of you, I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to get that spot.
Okay, real quick, I got to ask you this. This is from Lowell. He wants to know, how many bands are you going to be wearing in the opener?
Well, I definitely got to keep it even, and I got to keep y'all guessing. So I'm going to say it's going to be more than 8, less than 20.
Oh, okay. There you go, Lowell. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. More than 8, less than 20. Let's go more towards 20. That would get us pumped up on Texas game day. Man,
Good stuff.
we love the look, and that's one of those guys in Overshown who's going to be a centerpiece of this defense. You've mentioned how Kwiatkowski always has a guy that can be that chess piece. It could be Overshown.
How about him as an athlete, being able to move from defensive back to linebacker, 60 tackles a year ago, added a sack, just a tremendous athlete.
4th and 5 for Casey Thompson. He's going to float this one up. He's got a man. And Jaden Alexis cannot bring it down. Alexis, the early enrollee out of Florida, a speedster. Casey Thompson, though, could not connect. 5:36 left until half. Casey Thompson's group up 9-3. DeMarvion Overshown, a.k.a. Straps, the band man, because of that swag that he wears onto the field, but also backs it up with his performance in the Alamo Bowl. 6 tackles, a couple of hurries, 1 interception. Ended up the season with 60 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, so he's expected to be one of the centerpieces for Kwiatkowski and this new look Texas defense. Sam, what do you think about Overshown and how he fits in with this defense?
Well, we sat down with Coach Kwiatkowski yesterday, and we asked him, who would you compare to Shaq Thompson? And the first person he said was DeMarvion Overshown. He's phenomenal, and I think he really fits. Obviously, obviously PK had 7 years as a coach, 17 guys go to the NFL, and he specifically pointed out Overshown as that guy. I'm right here on the sideline. He's standing next to Nathan Basher trying to get tips and tricks. This dude is hungry for knowledge. I love what I see.
Yeah, coaches come in, they're always trying to find a guy that makes the defense go. And I think Overshown is going to be that player for Texas.
Here's Roschon Johnson. Positive yardage, lowering the shoulder, left side. Sam, when you look at the different levels of the defense, where do you think Texas is best suited to perform well now? What's the question mark?
Oh, hands down, the D-line is the best suited to dominate. So Keandre Coburn is a beast. This guy knows what it takes to win. We talked to him. He said, I've won at every level, and I'm not going to let my team lose. So he's the high point definitely on that defensive line.
Question marks for you around Overshown at linebacker?
Yeah, the question marks are definitely at the linebacker position. So you got a couple guys. Benda's really shined during this offseason. I like what he's done. But there's so many questions. Who's going to step up? I like Ray Thornton. I like what he does on the outside. Jacoby Jones, we talked about. Who's going to really solidify their spot and replace Joseph Osai? That's what we're waiting to see. And I think these last 15 practices, some players have showed up, but it's going to be what happens in the fall.
Yeah, you look at this list here, a lot of production as Juwan Mitchell entered the transfer portal. He was a leading tackler last season. Would be key in the linebacker spot. And spinning is Marcus Washington making the catch for first down yardage. Good throw there by Hudson Carr.
And once again, the timing from Hudson Carr to Marcus Washington. As soon as he hits the top of the drop, he realizes coverage has spun its way out of position, and Marcus Washington right there to reel it in. Excellent catch and to tuck the ball away as the defenders are closing in.
Yeah, and Hudson Card was a top quarterback for a reason. We all know that. He's got the intangibles. Only question mark is that he's young. Can he grow up during this time? That's what I'm watching for.
Card over the middle. Kai Money has it inside the 10. And on point there, you can see the RPMs on those throws from Hudson Card.
Yeah, and a nice job of holding coverage. Sometimes as a quarterback, the play fake. You're going to hold the coverage with the defender, and now it's time to get the ball out of your hands accurately. Sometimes that is a very, very tough throw after you come off a play fake, and then you got to deliver it quickly. Hudson Card proves there that he can get it done.
Thompson has one touchdown drive. Card looking for one of his own, and it's 32 on 32 as Prince Dorba brings down Daniel Young.
And this is where he will really be evaluated. Talking about Hudson Card, can you get it done? Can you come away in the red zone with the big points? Can you put the team on your back and will them into the end zone?
Yeah, and even what I've seen, so I'm sitting here right next to Deshaun Jameson. This guy, he's hungry. He's not on the field right now, but he's watching every single play, every single player trying to get better. It's the reason why he was a lockdown corner last year.
And playmaker extraordinaire at special teams. Off the hands of Young and nearly picked off as B.J. Foster almost ended up with the INT.
There's a couple of players. Anthony Cook with his hands on the thing at the very end. But just a little bit too much mustard on that one for Daniel Young to handle.
Yeah, and as we talked yesterday, we were talking with Sark. One thing that he talked about was the way that he empathizes with players. I don't know if you guys can see, he squatted down about 15 yards behind the ball, watching everything. I remember watching him at practice. He does the same thing. This guy really cares about every single detail, and that's why you see him so dialed in and his team succeed.
Card, awkward angle, trying to get the throw off, and he cannot, as Dorba is there with the pressure. It's been a really good drive for Prince Dorba running around making some plays. And Sam, we're going back to our conversation with Kwiatkowski, going to that tip with Young. They want takeaways. Sarkisian knows, and especially in the Big 12, the only way to really play effective defense is take the football away.
Absolutely, and in a lot of places people call them turnovers. I don't believe in turnovers. A turnover is a dessert. It's a takeaway. You have to take the ball away, and the reason that Sark went and hired PK is that he thrives. He helps his team understand takeaways.
And another field goal for Dicker, the kicker, 28 yards out. Card still looking to get his offense into the end zone. 9-6, Team Orange. Under 2 minutes until the break. Casey Thompson, 7-13, 73 yards. He's engineered the lone touchdown drive, and this is big, Andre, because it's 2-minute drill time.
It's the same that we just talked about. Another test. We talked about the test with Card in the red zone. unable to get his team. They had to settle for a field goal. Well, can you go down? Can you put them in the end zone here, or at the very least, come away with a field goal with 1:54 left in the first half?
O'Mary at the bottom of the screen in the black jersey. Goes to Bijan Robinson instead. Quickly out of bounds.
And what you're looking for, Lowell, is a drive starter. That one being a nice check down to Robinson just to get positive yards. He's able to get himself out of bounds, stop the clock briefly. But can you get that drive starter to really get this offense going in the 2-minute drill?
If there's drama in the spring game, this is where it is, Sam.
Yeah, and people watching at home, you always wonder, okay, what's the point in a spring game? What am I looking for? It's situations like these, 2 minutes left in the half. Are you gonna break? Are you gonna be efficient? Are you gonna get out of bounds? Right? Those things. We saw Joshua Moore right now get out of bounds. These are the experiences that you can't simulate. We got about 25, 30,000 people in the stands. You got your ones up, good on good, best on the best. This is what you look for. We got the drive start like we talked about, but now let's see, are we going to be smart? We're going to get out of bounds. Are we going to make the catch? Are we going to take our shot?
Do you have players that play from the neck up? You know, those situations where if you're close to the sideline, are you going to break back inside and cause the clock to move, or we have to burn a timeout, or just step out of bounds and save us some time?
Thompson looking downfield. Coburn flushes him, throwing on the run and throws it away.
And we talk about Keandre Coburn and some of the defensive line, but one of the things I've been looking right here as I stand behind Sark and the offensive line is, will they play as a unit? You see Okafor, you see Jake Majors, you see Angalau. Will they play as a unit? I like what I'm seeing so far. The offensive line is actually looking like they're playing as a unit. With Kyle Flood coaching them, they've bought in and they believe.
And Derek Kerstetter will be part of the plans. He's coming back from that brutal ankle injury late in the season, but he will be in the mix when he returns. Thompson over the middle, and he's got Moore, stays upright, and the clock will continue to run.
And all the coaches that we had a chance to visit with this week talked about the buy-in. So I think as a unit, most guys aren't going to try to do too much outside of their position, and then trust the guy next to you to get his job done.
Thompson on a huge third down. Rolling, looking for O'Mary. There is a flag down, and Thompson gets rid of it as Ojimo and Coburn were there.
We're going to have a false start. Someone started a little bit early.
Illegal formation. Offense had 5 players in the backfield. The penalty's been accepted. 5 yards from the previous spot. Replay, third down.
And it's plays like this, right? It's plays like this. We got 1:07 left in the half. You cannot afford a penalty. Penalties kill drives, especially in the 2-minute. So coach is going to go back and watch the film and say, okay, why were we out of illegal formation? What are we thinking? This is not just a spring game. It's situational football. Can we dominate and dial in?
And those were the mistakes that doomed Tom Herman in his time.
It kills drives and leaves time for your opponent to go down and put points on the scoreboard themselves.
So here's another third down opportunity. Thompson feeling the rush from Jones. Throws on the run, got Whittington, and Whittington has it at the 30-yard line before J.D. Coffey brings him down.
What an answer by Casey Thompson to avoid the rush and then locate his receiver, Jordan Whittington, down the field. Every coach we talked to raved about the spring that Whittington had.
Thompson brought down by Moro Ojimo.
Jojo. What did I tell y'all before the game? Moro Ojimo is the fundamentally sound player that no one wants to talk about, but the guy that will make plays. 2
sacks last season, yet that was good enough to be second on the team.
Yeah, it's interesting because you don't talk about these kind of plays. You don't talk about these kind of players. You want the shine, you want the sizzle. But no one was talking about Joseph Osai before last season. I see something similar in Ojimo.
Oh, so you're saying this is going to be the breakout, big time.
Absolutely, but it's not going to be in the way you think. It's not like the statistical 15 sacks. This guy's playing 4-eye. You got to understand, he's playing head up on an offensive tackle. But he will produce. And yes, Jacoby Jones will produce. And yes, Trey Thornton will produce. And Keandre Coburn, you don't have to even say anything about this guy. He consistently produces in the middle. I think that Ojimo has the potential, has the drive, has the heart. I'll put it this way. Every time I come back to campus, I'm going to get personal a little bit. This guy's asking me, man, what can I do to be better? How can I be great? And it's not just with me. He does that with the other greats who have come before him. And so those are the intangibles that no one knows, that no one sees, but that's what separates the good from the great.
And keep in mind, this is a Texas defensive line without Tavondre Sweat out with a shoulder injury. He will be a factor inside as well.
Ojimo's got a great foundation from a high school program that's one of the best in the state of Texas at Katy High School. So He is a good football player.
Second and 16. Over the middle, O'Meara showing the quick hands, the not contact jersey, but showing you what he could be for this offense.
There's the range that I talked about with that frame at 6'3", 227. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to be in the area for a receiver like that. The hands finishing the play. Long yardage on second down, but he's able to come up with a big play and earn a first down.
It's like Colin Johnson. It wasn't a catch radius, it was a catch area code. Whittington shakes off one tackle as Adam Moore was there. And another nice play by Whittington. 20 seconds on the clock.
And you've had some negative plays in this 2-minute drive, but Sark's got to be impressed with the way that Thompson has moved his team. They've overcome some adversity and still with an opportunity to not only get points, but the big ones to get in the end zone here with 22 seconds left.
And one thing that no one talks about, you think about great coaches and you ask what makes them great. I think what makes Sark great is his empathy. He cares for the players. We were talking with Denzel Okafor yesterday, and he said, man, these guys care about me making it to the next level. That's one of my goals. Yes, I want to be great in college, but man, I've never really heard people say we want to take you to the next level. That's what brings Sark to that new level. That's what has players say, Sark, whatever you say, I will do, because I've seen you take guys, teams, and programs to the next level. We all should be excited that Steve Sarkisian is a head coach at the University of Texas.
That's part of spending time around Nick Saban and what he's been able to do at Alabama. He talked about that, the 7 years he spent with Pete Carroll and how to design and work through practices, and then the other stuff that he learned from Nick Saban. That kind of falls right in line with it.
Good stuff here. It is good on good. Number one offense, number one defense. Thompson to Whittington, and it's picked off. Deshaun Jamison, the Shark, is surfing. Blood in the water for Deshaun Jamison. 92 yards the other way. He's a playmaker, Andre.
Looking for someone to step up. Honorable mention, Big 12 last year's a kick returner, but looking for someone to step up in the secondary. Thompson's a little bit late. Jamison gets a great jump on it, and then it's just a house call. He's even got an escort.
Hey, he almost ran over me, y'all. I'm on this field. I had to put my running shoes on. I almost put my shoulder pads. I just talked to Deshaun Jamison about 5 minutes ago on the sideline. He dapped me up. I said, hey, bro, you can be great. What we just saw is greatness on display.
And so often, Sam, people bring up what he's not the biggest, not the fastest, but the dude makes plays, whether it's special teams or in the secondary. Deshaun Jamison is going to find himself around the football. That gets his squad on the board. Casey Thompson with the lone offensive touchdown drive. And of course, Bijan has looked outstanding. Halftime coming up of the orange and white spring game. Welcome back to Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium for the Orange and White Spring Game presented by Living Spaces. Team White now up on Team Orange 13-9. Let's throw it down to Don Davenport.
Yes, here with Coach Sark. Coach, you got a chance to see Casey Thompson in a 2-minute drive that ends in a pick. What stood out to you in that drive from him in the offense?
Well, I think we saw some playmaking ability. Obviously, there was a heck of a play by Jordan Whittington. It was a nice play by Troy O'Meara. But at the end, it's understanding the situation. Any points are good at that point. We don't need to force that ball. And it was a nice play by Deshaun Jamison. So it's good to see both sides. You know, it's always hard when you're coaching against yourself. You know, I'm not sure which team I'm rooting for here. But in the end, these are great learning experiences for our guys.
Now you've had a full half of both quarterbacks and Hudson Card as well. How would you assess a full half of each of those guys?
Well, you know, my big thing with them is when I talk to them is going to be settling down in the pocket a little bit more, getting through our reads, getting through our progressions, trusting that part of it. Clearly, they both have playmaking ability. They both got nice quick releases. They push some balls down the field. But now we got to try to minimize a little bit of the sacks and or scrambles by getting up into the pocket and trusting our progressions.
You had said you want the energy, you want to see the physicality in this game. What's your message to your teams as you head into the second half there?
Well, I think, you know, for the most part, we've been pretty clean. We don't have a bunch of holds and things like that going on, so that's been a positive. You know, through it all, you know, when you're split squads, you don't have that rotation. So you got to win on first and second down on defense to force the third downs. I think when they've gotten in trouble, they've struggled on first and second down, and now we don't have that rotation because we're split squad. So, you know, hopefully offensively we can keep running the ball here a little bit and doing it, and then find some shot plays, some play action pass type plays.
Perfect. Thank you, Coach.
Howdy, thank you.
Lil?
Thank you so much, Don. You can see that measured demeanor there from Steve Sarkisian, always coaching, looking for those learning points for this Texas team. Be back with more action on Longhorn Network. Welcome back to the 2021 Texas Football Orange and White game presented by Living Spaces. Logan Galindo here with Andre Ware, Don Davenport, Sam Acho. This is what we've seen so far. Thompson, 13-21, 142 yards, led an opening touchdown drive. It was Bijan Robinson getting in, does have an interception. Deshaun Jamison was the man that took it away. 92-yard interception return for the touchdown, as that is a game summary brought to you by Living Spaces.
You and I were talking during halftime, and I said if Casey Thompson throws 3 touchdowns and just lights it up here in the second half, he will go all the way to the fall thinking about that interception by Jamison for a touchdown. It's just one of those things you can't let go as a quarterback.
How much do you think we even see them here in the second half?
That's a good question. I think early you're going to see him for sure.
There's Jamison out to the 20.
And after that, his last pass, you know, I'm begging Sark to get back on the field at this point.
Sam, what do you got?
And this is what you hope for. This is what you hope for. You just threw an interception in the half. You want an opportunity to come back and show the coach that I can bounce back. I'm not going to end on a bad play. I'm going to bounce back and have a dominant third and fourth quarter. So this is actually the opportunities that you hope for. This is why you do spring ball.
Yeah, and as you know, Sam, you've got to be able to go into the locker room, sit, listen to the coaches cool down, as well as ramp your body back up to come out for the second half of a football game. So that's all part of the process as well.
Yeah, people always talk about having a short-term memory. Here's a trick play.
Uh-oh, backwards pass. Money gets lit up, but it is on the money to Gunnar Helm. Helm, the freshman from Inglewood, Colorado, brings it down using that trick play, Andre.
There it is. I mean, I saw him doing this in pregame warm-up and completed it just about every time, and there's Helm on the end of it. Nice big play for the white squad here.
Yeah,
41 yards for money, the former high school quarterback.
And as a player, when you do scouting reports, obviously we're not doing it here, it's a spring game. When you do scouting reports, you have a scouting report. There's a sack. There's that sack we've been looking for, the pressure.
Jeff Bush with the sack.
Yeah, so when you do scouting reports, you say, okay, who can throw? Who was a high school quarterback? Who was, those are the things you look at when you go to the next level. And so obviously when you start game planning other teams, you're going to say, oh, okay, be alert. If you see a backwards pass to this specific player, it could be a trick play.
But get some props to Gunnar Helm. I mean, he was a receiver early in high school in Colorado. Apparently, John Elway told his dad he's going to be a tight end. Start developing there. Started playing the position his junior season, and here he is at the University of Texas. Speaking of guys that were quarterbacks, there's Roshan Johnson. You wouldn't know it now, Andre, by the way he runs the football.
No, not the way he runs it. More of the physical presence in the running game. You got Robinson with the sweet feet, and then Johnson comes in and is a willing offensive threat to run over anybody that gets in his way.
So we're going to see some of the young pups here in this second half that have enrolled early, taking part in this first ever spring practice under Steve Sarkisian. Card still looking to get in the end zone, and a quick pass to Malcolm Epps. Epps is one of those guys, Andre. He was supposed to be the breakout receiver a couple of years ago, didn't really pan out. Now he's back for another season playing tight end. How do they utilize Epps?
Well, and you're talking about a guy that can actually move. He's the move tight end, can move around and give you some stuff in the move game where you get him matched up on linebackers. That should favor him. Sark will know exactly how to take advantage of his athletic ability against certain defensive personnel.
4th and 3 for Hudson Card and Team White. And another one on the button to Kai Money.
Now you're in a competition. Hudson Card and Casey Thompson. You think Card doesn't realize that Thompson just threw that pick six, and this is an opportunity to lead his team down right out of the locker room, stick one in the end zone, and he's got to maybe pump his chest a little bit when he goes to the sideline.
Opportunity knocks. You can open the door. Roschon carrying tackles with him. And Roschon, such a physical runner for a guy that was more of a dual threat quarterback, but a quarterback nonetheless. Not any knocks on that position there when it comes to toughness, Andre.
No, not at all. He's more of a downhill runner type that doesn't shy away from the contact. And you get him down in this area of the field, that's what you need. The no nonsense. Hey, let's get north and south in a hurry. He's going to see a lot of carries from this vantage point as the season progresses.
Another carry for Roschon, and as good as anybody in terms of picking up hidden yardage. You go back to that thriller they had in Stillwater against Oklahoma State, yards that he fought for to take plays that would have gone for a loss to get him back into the line of scrimmage was critical, and then being able to come back and get that win late.
Yeah, had a pretty good afternoon against Kansas State as well, didn't he? When he went for 139 and 3 touchdowns.
That was him and Bijan stealing the show and running all over the Wildcats in Manhattan. 3rd and 4 inside the red zone for Hudson Card. He's thinking end zone. Does he get the shot? Card looking left.
Oh, what a throw! What a
window open late, but Marcus Washington was there and Card saw it.
There was no window, Lowell. There was no window. That's the definition of throwing a guy open. Almost went on the field from way up here. Oh my goodness, what a throw.
And I'm on the field way down here. Some people don't need a window. We joked a little bit, but the Aaron Rodgers type tendency. Some quarterbacks don't even need a window. Some quarterbacks, as we mentioned, will put it in the breadbasket. We saw that right now with Hudson Card.
Marcus Washington was completely covered before the ball left the hands of Hudson Card. What a throw.
That is the arm talent, the next level ability that people have been raving about. He's on the same page with Marcus Washington there. Could we see that combo a lot more come game day in the fall? Lake Travis High School has a long lineage of fantastic quarterbacks coming out of that program. Hudson Card, one of the most recent, 3 for 3, 19 yards on the last drive, but we're talking about that touchdown.
Oh my goodness, it tells me a couple of things, that, all the arm talent on display, but having the trust and knowing the system that Marcus Washington's going to be there. He is absolutely covered up before that ball is thrown, and Card just trusts that he's going to make a play for him.
Thompson throws it away. And give props to Washington as well. He's one of the guys that this new coaching staff has raved about. He is making the most of his opportunity to impress new coaches.
There are a lot of questions about the receiver position, who's going to step up. Well, let me tell you something. You hired a head coach that's going to get the best out of Jordan Whittington, out of Joshua Moore, Marcus Washington, Troy O'Meary. There are weapons there, and he will push them on a daily basis to get themselves better, to develop, and really contribute to what this team's going to do offensively.
2nd and 10. Robinson gets the carry. Left side, so smooth, makes it look easy until he's wrapped up by Doak Wilson. Let's send it down to Don Davenport and Derek Kerstetter.
Yes, you mentioned coach's favorites. I'm with one of them right now, and now his 5th year here at Texas. How's that sound?
It's crazy. I wouldn't expect that, so I'm happy to be here, though.
I think all the fans want to know how your rehab is going, how you feel. I watched you in warm-ups. You look like you're moving great, so kind of fill us in on how that ankle feels.
I feel great. I mean, I got one of the best training room staff and everything, and the coaches have always supported me in all the things that I've done, and I'm starting to feel like myself again. So I've been really happy and really blessed to be able to be at the University of Texas and be able to rehab here and get myself back to normal. So
you heard Andre just say Coach Sark is going to get the best out of all these playmakers. What have you seen that Coach Sark has brought to this program?
He's brought a family-like culture. I mean, he loves all of us. He cares about all of us, but also pushes us at the same time. So it's been a blessing to have him come in and just embrace each and every one of us. So I'm excited to be able to continue to learn under him. So.
There's so much talk about this playbook, how thick it is,
Yeah.
you know, and how much you got to get into it. And Sark said, hey, we're throwing everything at the guys right here in spring just to build that foundation. So tell me what you think maybe is the most difficult part of picking up a new offense.
Just learning the new terms and everything. We've embraced what he's thrown at us, and we've been excited to learn it. I mean, it's always been, I've had different coaches, and it's always been a blessing to be able to see the different techniques they bring in and the different words they bring in. So it helps you grow your game, and you take stuff from each of these coaches and try to develop into your own and become a better player for it. So you're just happy to be here.
Okay, you talk about the different coaches. I'm over there in warm-ups listening to Kyle Flood, and I want to suit up and go hit somebody.
Exactly.
Like, that guy, oh my gosh, what is he bringing?
He's one of a kind. He's very intelligent. He brings a lot of emotion and energy every single day to the position room and to the position group, and we're just very thankful to get him. And he's different style, but we all love him. He's a different personality, but we love every second that we get to learn under him. So it's been a really fun time.
All right, Derek, can't wait to see you in action in the fall. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Lowell?
Don, thank you so much. And Kurt Stetter, we said earlier, Kyle Flood says he will be part of the plans. They'll figure it out in camp, really, but he makes it easier to find their starting five because, Andre, that's a guy that's played offensive tackle, he's played center, figures in a lot of different positions, as we now see Ben Ballard checking in for the first time.
Yeah, Coach Flood told us about Kurt Stetter and just his presence in the room, and he's played everywhere. That's why he's so valuable on the offensive line. He can play all 5 positions. He's going to be in the rotation, obviously maybe a starter or so, but you're talking about a senior that's played a lot of football at the University of Texas, and they are depending on that young man to bounce back and contribute in a major way.
Yeah,
Flood.
it's interesting. It's interesting the fact that there are so many players out here that are super important to the team, but that aren't playing. So they're out here, but they're not. So Kerstetter, he's critical to this team, not playing. Overshown, critical. Troy O'Meary, he's out there a little bit. This is not the team you're going to see come fall. There are some playmakers available.
Ballard looking deep to Woodward and falls incomplete. When it comes to the O-line, though, Flood really likes what he has on the left side so far. You got Christian Jones at left tackle, Denzel Okafor. You think it's impressive that Kerstetter's here 5 years. Okafor is going to be 6th year on campus. People joke around about him that he used to play for Mac Brown. He's been here that long.
I tell you what, it's one of those deals where you couldn't have fallen into a better situation to jumpstart a program or your first year as a head coach. When you talk about all the names that you just talked about on the offensive line, you got 2 good quarterbacks, 2 excellent running backs, and a bunch of talent at wide receiver. The defensive side of the football is going to be sound. I don't know that you could ask for it to set itself up any better for Sark coming into Texas his first year.
And one thing that people often wonder about, at least if I'm sitting at home and I'm saying, okay, what's different? Why would this team be different than last year's or 4 or 6 years ago? The one word is culture.
Yeah.
Steve Sarkisian brings a culture. We talked about it, 10 years total under 2 phenomenal coaches in Nick Saban and also in Pete Carroll. This guy has his own style. He says, I'm not Nick, I'm not Pete, but I have my own style. Yes, we compete. Yes, we're up tempo, but man, I care about my players. And as a guy who's played in the college level and the pro level, all you want is a coach who cares.
Well, and a lot of it has been with the previous 2 coaches. It's taken them a while to figure out the offense. The offense under Tim Beck, early with Herman, it was not moving. You remember Charlie Strong and Sean Watson. That offense had a lot of issues, and it's the Big 12. Sam, as you know, you have got to enter the conversation by being an elite offensive team. When you talk about the likes of Oklahoma, that's always out there. So much of Sarkisian's success is going to be measured by, can you stand toe-to-toe with Lincoln Riley and take down big bad OU?
But let's not forget, we all are excited about Steve Sarkisian, which we should be. We all say, man, will this be the new Alabama, which we want it to be. But let's not forget, back in 06 and 07, Nick Saban was 6-6. They weren't Alabama until 09, that championship game. That's when Alabama became Alabama. So let's be patient, but let's know that it's coming.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sam, from a standpoint of Texas fan, booster, alum, whatever it is. Give the man time to put the pieces together.
You know there's no time in Austin.
I know it, and that's the problem. That's why that's why there's a new head coach here. You've got to allow time for him to build, recruit to his style of how he wants to do things, not only on the offensive side, but the defensive side of the ball as well. I think you got the right guy, and I think you got him the right guy for a very, very long time.
And they've got some very good frontline players right now. We've talked about Bijan Robinson and some of the playmakers like Overshawn defensively.
Yep.
But how long does it take to stack talent on talent? Because ultimately, that's what Nick Saban has right now at Alabama. He's got future NFL guys backing up future NFL guys. Question here is, how many of those pro guys do you have on the roster, and do you even have any in backup roles?
And I think you do. I really do. I think this roster is loaded with talent. But let's not forget about, yes, we talk about timing, but coaching. Steve Sarkisian initially wasn't, in the public opinion, wasn't the first choice. But now that people have been around, they realize this is the right guy. I think similarly about 20 or so years ago, Mac Brown wasn't, in public opinion, the first choice. But he had a 16-year run of some pretty solid success. I think we're going to see success after a few misses in Steve Sarkisian.
Well, it was interesting the way it went down. There was a very public flirtation with Urban Meyer, and that was while Tom Herman still had the job. Meyer says no, and then the Texas athletic staff, Chris Del Conte, the AD, releases the statement that says Herman is our coach. Never said if he'd be the head coach next year, so there was some unclarity with that statement. And then even after they pounded Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, all intents and purposes, it looked like Herman was coming back, but then they get Sark and they make that move.
Yeah, and it's because a lot of people, 7-3, would take that in a heartbeat. But this is the University of Texas. Expectations are such that you want to compete for national championships, and rightfully so. You've heard me say it. I'm on the record as saying I think this is the best job in all of football. I really do. And talking to Sark this week, and I feel that way because of the possibilities of this program, the resources, the recruiting bed that you sit on, all those recruits that are around you. The best recruits in the country sit right here in the state of Texas. But talking to Sark this week, he told us 25 years ago when he got into coaching, he's talking to his dad, and his dad asked him, what's the best job? He said, the best job is at the University of Texas. This is a guy that's coached at UW as well as USC. He is in the right place. Let's let him build it the way he needs to build it.
Well, we talk about the timetables and the expectations. He will have time to chase the likes of Alabama in terms of contending for national championships. But what needs to happen fairly quickly is contending for Big 12 championships and getting into the Big 12 championship game.
Agreed.
That has to happen yesterday, essentially.
Agreed.
And it will. And it will. I mean, I'm a guy who I want to see success. I think we all do. You have to look at coaches' track records and their history. We were sitting with Sark yesterday. He said, hey, I'm going to get my playmakers the ball. There were questions last year. Why isn't Bijan getting the ball more? There were questions. Nick Saban, he had the same mentality about putting the best players on the field, getting them the ball. We saw Pete Carroll the same way, what he did at USC and also what he did in the NFL. Steve Sarkisian has the exact same mindset. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to find the strengths of my players and put them on the field and put the ball in their hands. It's not about me. It's about them and their success.
Yeah, the common thread in that is that you talked about USC and Pete Carroll. Who was there? Sarkisian was there. You talk about Alabama and getting the ball in playmakers' hands. Who was there the last couple of years? Steve Sarkisian. So, he knows exactly how to do that.
Well, it comes down to this. No offense to the man kicking the football right now. Wes Cameron Dicker. Got to cash in on those red zone opportunities if they are going to score the points required to be a factor in the Big 12. Team White up on Team Orange 20-12.
Texas has been dominating.
Neal on the slide. Big swing from Eggleston.
Big dig here. Heat, a lot of spin. My goodness! Texas is moving on! That's what Texas volleyball is about.
Tonight is the night as Jared Elliott tries to win his second national championship for Texas volleyball. His run here in Austin, taking on Kentucky, a team looking for #1. Baseball is currently going on ESPN Plus. Texas up 2-0 against Oklahoma State. And we got softball coming up 4 p.m. Central Time, Texas against Kansas. Make sure after that to watch Texas Game Day, a special edition with our guy Alex Loeb, getting you set for Texas volleyball. Hudson Card back in the game and immediately fires a bullet to Woodard.
How about the route Woodard ran? I mean, he's covered, and he just keeps working back to the football to give Hudson Card a place to go with it. That's a lot of throws through spring practice and knowing exactly where to go, and that's a lot of coaching too.
Yeah, and they call that a negative angle. They always call that take the negative angle, come back to the ball, make it easy on your quarterback. And so when you're a receiver, if you're listening at home and saying, I want to play receiver, I want to be better, make it easy on your quarterback. Take negative angles, run up your route, and then come back to the ball and be the guy who makes the play.
Woodard getting hot because second reception to start this drive, consecutive reception.
Card getting hot as well to engineer this show for the White offense, now up 20-12. He's got one touchdown pass, the other touchdown from White, courtesy of Deshaun Jamison. Downfield to Moochie Dixon, overthrown.
I'm not sure he gets that one off. Anthony Cook coming on a blitz. At the very least, that one would have gone maybe out of bounds, or you're taking a hit. But you're going to see here, Cook's coming off the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that that one gets out.
And one thing I want to see, and we talked about it a little bit in the pregame, but I want to see Alfred Collins step up. He had an awesome one-handed pick last year in the Alamo Bowl. That was great. But we've heard from PK, it's all in his head. You got to use your head and dominate in the game, not just physically, not just on games, but also in practice.
But how about this? Luke Brockemeyer making the stop there. We all know his pops, Blake, All-American offensive tackle.
Offense number 71, 10-yard penalty. It's second out.
So Luke Brockemeyer has taken advantage of playing time with guys like DeMarvion Overshone out. I mean, the coaching staff was saying he may be up to 7 takeaways in the spring so far. And just, it's so interesting how this works, right? Sark thought he would be coaching Luke's 2 younger brothers, stud offensive line signees at Alabama. He's got Luke here at the University of Texas, and he's been one of the biggest surprises in the spring so far.
PK talked about it. Takeaways, takeaways. He's called them turnovers. I don't like it. It's a dessert. Takeaways.
Last snap here of the third quarter. Texas will keep it on the ground.
So the offense turns it over. The defense takes it away, is what you're saying, Sam.
Sam will let you get ready for game day. We appreciate you. Great job as always.
Thanks, Sam.
From the Acho family.
Texas football on Longhorn Network is presented by Living Spaces. Buy it today, enjoy it tonight. And in part by Coors Light, made to chill. 21 means 21. And American Campus Communities, where students love living.
The moments, the flashes, all the hope, that's what makes spring football so intriguing. Team White up on Team Orange 20-12. We welcome back Coach Sark. When we talk about those flashes, the moments, from your perspective, break down that touchdown throw from Hudson Card to Marcus Washington.
Well, I thought it was a pretty nifty throw. Marcus got behind the corner. We were anticipating him getting in front. He got behind. I thought Hudson made a heck of a throw, slipping in behind him.
Coach, how do you contain yourself? I almost, wanted to run down once the ball was gone because it was thrown before the receiver actually made a break. Obviously a bunch of reps, but how do you contain yourself when your quarterback makes a throw like that?
Well, again, I try to step back. I'm rooting for both teams here on both sides of the ball. I think clearly the Orange offense, one of the things that's been a little bit of their nemesis today has been their red zone offense. The pick for the touchdown, and then the last drive get down inside the 10 and coming away with a field goal. So they've been driving the ball, then now they got to punch it in here.
Well, we saw Brockemeyer make another play to wrap up this drive. You know that family well. It's Texas lineage here in Austin. What has stood out, though, about the way Luke has made the most of this spring opportunity?
Luke's had a great spring. I'll tell you what he's done. He's created a bunch of turnovers. I think he's taken to coaching, and then ultimately he's put himself in position to make those plays, and he consistently does it day after day when we go out on the field.
How about your thoughts on your receiving group? You got a lot of talent there, but a lot of inexperience and some guys that need to really step up. Your thoughts on that positional group overall?
Well, I thought we were a little anxious to start the game. We had a couple drops early on. I thought the guys have settled in pretty nicely. Again, it's a little tougher, splitting squads and not having the rotation that you'd like. But I think guys are, for the most part, making some pretty good plays on the ball.
Last thing I got for you, Coach Sark. Who wins the battle for Jatavion Sanders, you or Coach PK?
Well, you know, we've talked to JT at length as high school coach. We've looked at it on our end. You know, I think realistically we're gonna look at him on both sides of the ball, but we'll probably start him out on the offensive side.
Sounds good, Coach Sark. We appreciate it.
All righty, thank you guys.
Head coach gets the final decision, man.
Of course, especially when he's an offensive guy. That's what Kwiatkowski said. Is one of the other freshmen, Juan Davis, showing the moves. And you look at Davis. You saw him make one catch earlier. You were intrigued. He doesn't fit an exact mold, but he's a football player.
It's kind of like a tweener between a big wide receiver and a hybrid tight end. But he made a catch earlier. It shows you a lot of athletic ability. I think this young man's got a very bright future. He'll add some weight to his frame where he'll become a better inline blocker, but there is a tremendous amount of talent there.
Texas was the first to offer him under Tom Herman, as Jordan Whittington makes a nice grab as well. A lot of intriguing playmakers that they can move around. Jatavion Sanders, though, he's the crown jewel of this incoming freshman class. Not an early enrollee, but you just watch what he's done up at Denton, and he's making plays offensively and defensively. There's no telling the kind of impact that he could have.
No better compliment than when someone just says, hey, he's just a football player, where he can play. You line him up and he can play anywhere. That's what he brings, and you'll see him definitely take the field in the fall and contribute big time.
And here's Charles Wright now in at quarterback, an Austin product. And typically when we're talking about Austin quarterbacks, we're talking about Lake Travis, we're talking about Westlake. Charles Wright from Austin High here in town and making his Texas debut. Was a longtime commit to Iowa State. Longhorns came calling late. Couldn't pass up the offer to join the Burnt Orange.
What you like is that he takes care of the ball. Only 9 interceptions his last year there, over 2,700 yards and 35 touchdown passes to his credit. He can get it done on the ground as well, running for over 400 yards. So nice dual threat quarterback coming out of Austin High.
Well, I like the point you bring up about guys being football players. And
False start, offense number 65, 5-yard penalty. It's second down.
And in talking with the coaching staff here, a lot of the guys that go out and they do the recruiting, they are looking for guys that fit that mold. Who is the best football player? The rankings, yeah, of course they matter because it's usually a reflection of how productive they are. The measurables, you like guys that look like Jatavion Sanders, but more than anything, it sounds like they are identifying guys that can play the game.
Yeah, guys that have played multiple positions in high school.
Offense number 70, 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Where the speed translates from on both sides of the ball, whether it's, you know, at a defensive back or a wide receiver or running back or a line, you know, one of those where you don't really handcuff yourself as to having to play a guy at one spot. That you can be, hey, okay, we need you here. Let's bump him over and play him on the defensive side at times.
Tom Herman was really knocked for the lack of development with the players once they arrived on the 40 acres. And that's not coming from me. That's something that Herman acknowledged multiple times that his staff needed to do a better job of. What makes you believe Sarkisian can do what he's done in the past and develop guys that are good players and make them even better once they're done at UT?
Well, it comes with getting the most out of players. And then you go back, the history of having done so is there. When you just follow him around wherever he's been and you look at the players that he's been able to coach. A prime example, Waddle goes down last year at Alabama. And we're waiting and see, okay, who's going to step up and do it? And all of a sudden, here comes Devontae Smith to the point of winning a Heisman Trophy. So he can get the best out of players. Everybody thought Waddle was the best player on the offensive side, or certainly the best receiver. But then he coaches up Smith, who has one of a historic type season at wide receiver. So the development's there, you've seen it, and that's why I believe it will happen at the University of Texas under Sark.
Ojimo got credit for that sack. As Jamison, fair catch at the 35. But you look at around the landscape in the Big 12 right now, Oklahoma finished hot. Spencer Rattler started looking like one of those OU dudes. TCU, another very intriguing team with Max Duggan at quarterback. They finished the season hot, and Iowa State's getting a lot of buzz because Brock Purdy comes back, Breece Hall comes back.
Yeah.
It's one of the best running backs in America, one of the best 1-2 punches in all the land. What do you make of the Big 12 that Sark finds right now going into year number 1?
I think there's really 2 games on their schedule that that you can point to. Oklahoma obviously being the most important, and that's really what UT fans, that's the only game they really care about. And then you go to Iowa State, who a lot of people are going to have ranked close to the top 5, if not in the top 5. So I think it shakes out. It is kind of stretched out just right for a dominant first year for Sark and this UT program. But you know, let's keep in mind, somebody on that schedule is going to step up and be a problem.
Yeah,
that we're not, you know, that may not look that way right now.
And it's out of the Big 12 as Card is pressured, keeps the play alive. Yeah, eventually blow this one dead as Marquise Caldwell was all over it. It's out of the Big 12, but Louisiana in the season opener.
Yeah.
That's a team that opened up last year by knocking off Iowa State. They returned the most production out of any team in college football. So there is a challenge in week 1 before they go to Arkansas.
Week 2 as well, because you're talking about a bigger Arkansas team. I got a chance to see them in their spring game a week ago. They've got receivers that can make plays. They've got quarterbacks that can deliver the football, and a defense that can turn them over. I think they led the SEC in turnovers a year ago. So they had 2 problems early in the season, but those are games I would imagine that Texas will be able to handle.
So Card was hot. He's cooled off, throws short there as he was pressured by Jameer Johnson, one of the early enrollees for this Texas recruiting class. That's going to bring up a 4th and 4, and Texas will punt it away once again. We'll talk about the quarterbacks because it's going to be helpful to know who the guy is going into that opener against Louisiana and start building the offense around those skill sets.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Would he play both? Until you get game reps, you going into that week against Louisiana, would both guys see time?
Just trying to think if Sark has really ever done that.
Don't think so, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Right, say, hey, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one.
Right.
And now for the moment of chill, presented by Coors Light. Jamison, he's got the chill. Casey Thompson's like, hey, this is no chill, man. I'm looking for the touchdown. Jamison takes a pick 6, and then Card, you love this play.
Loved it. Anticipation, the ball's thrown before the receiver even makes his break. That is big time, next level stuff.
So at this point in time, what do you think? Thompson, Card, the decision will have to be made at some point.
Yeah, but it's going to go into the fall is my gut feeling, and maybe not until, what do you say, Mac Jones was named the starter, 2 weeks before the season opener? That would be about the timeline, I think, that a decision would be made on Card and Thompson.
We don't see this often, though. Both quarterbacks getting the opportunity late into a spring game. This is a treat for the fans, and also maybe lets you in that they are looking at the spring game a little more than they're letting on.
Oh, yeah, and that's what we talked about at the top, is that there's more importance to this other than just going out running plays and let's get out of here. They're trying to create an in-game environment, situational football for both guys, 2-minute drill, things of that sort. And still on the field this late? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Robinson, too, open field. He's going to eat you alive. Robinson making enough shakes and moves. Ray Thornton brings him down, but his first down yardage.
Now, that may be the most surprising thing, is that Bijan Robinson is still on the field taking reps.
Okay, what's better, the Robinson touchdown where he stays up, or that throw from Hudson Card for the touchdown?
Well, you know, I'm a quarterback. That throw was just unbelievable. Both were wowing moments, but the throw, because the receiver was covered and hadn't even began to break, and the ball's delivered perfectly, that one stood out in my mind.
Last 2 games of the season for Robinson. 19 carries, 355 yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. That's on the money to Paxton Anderson. Big question will be, how many carries does Bijan get? And if you look at all the offenses that Sark has been associated with, he's got the go-to guys. There's always a running back, there's always a go-to receiver, and they have far more touches than the other guys around them.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, 34% of the running plays went to Najee Harris. I imagine that's going to be the role that Robinson plays, with Johnson getting the other 20% that Brian Robinson had. That's the difference that this year's going to bring about for the University of Texas. The running game will not flow through the quarterback.
Yeah.
It is going to go through the running backs and the offensive line.
And with that, Thompson is more the runner, even though Card can run, but neither of those will be a factor because Sark bases his system on who the guy is.
Yeah, and they run just about any run scheme that you can bring up, whether it's gap scheme or zone block. They do it all. So it's a running back that's going to have to be on it from the neck up.
Robinson looking for the sideline. Binda is there.
That's another thing you saw out of Najee Harris, the ability to catch the football out of the backfield. That adds another component to the offense. That will be where Bijan Robinson steps in as well, because he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah, Sark said we can't just turn it around every time and hand it to him. We have to get creative. Brought up Julio Jones when he was with the Atlanta Falcons as the offensive coordinator. He knew that they were going to game plan for Julio Jones. So how could he create matchups and find a way to force the ball to the best playmaker on the field? Thompson looking to his right, throws this one away on 3rd and 6.
That's where you get creative from a standpoint of moving guys around. What he did with Devontae Smith. He didn't stay in one spot all game. He wasn't a Z receiver or the X. He may go into the slot. He may motion him around, orbit motion when he goes behind the running back and quarterback, just to find ways, creative ways to do it. And I'm going to tell you, I think Sark's the best in the business at doing exactly that.
Hey, give props, though, to this Texas defense. Team White has the first team guys in the spring, as you see another nice pressure there. And after that opening drive by Casey Thompson, they really bowed up, flexed, and have played a fantastic game. Yeah, they allowed that drive down into the red zone in the 2-minute drill, but Deshaun Jamison comes up with that pick 6. And you see how it stands right now, 22 of 35 for Thompson with that interception. Card 12 of 19, 132, and that touchdown to Marcus Washington.
Still a little bit of football left to play, but you know, I think that graphic right there is why it's going to remain unnamed.
Yeah,
because you can't really pull a whole lot of. There have been good things on both sides, so you're going to let this play out in the fall camp.
Well, it's interesting too because you've got the transfer portal, you got the change to the NCAA transfer rule. So for the fall, for the first time, student athletes in all sports will be able to transfer without penalty, meaning they will be immediately eligible at least one time. They get to do it one time in their athletics career, and that's going to open up a type of almost free agency that we haven't seen before in the college game. Sarkisian compared it to NFL free agency, but said the wild card is there's no schedule to follow. You're free agents in the NFL. You know when those contracts are coming up.
Yeah,
but there's no way to know when these guys are going to make that move.
That's exactly right. At least in the NFL, you have a contract where you know, okay, he's getting to the end of it. We can make a healthy decision for the organization. You don't know that in college football. A guy that you think going into the summer you're relying on, then all of a sudden he walks into your door 2 days before camp's getting ready to start and say, hey, I'm leaving. I'm transferring to such and such. That leaves a big hole in what you're going to do going into that season. I don't know that you open that door.
Brockenmeyer with the stop, got the high praise from Sark. And in our conversation with Steve Sarkisian said that, you know, don't be surprised if Texas adds 7 to 8 transfers in the offseason.
Yeah.
Because there will be guys looking to fill some spots, key depth spots on this Texas roster. Yeah.
You're going to have to, because let's say 2, 3, 4, or 5 guys leave from Texas and decide, okay, hey, I didn't climb as far up the depth chart as I wanted, or I didn't become a starter. I'm going to go to X program over here. You're going to need to replace that and replace it with some experienced players that can come in and step in and help build depth right away. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if upwards of 7 7 guys or new players come in.
Sark is very transparent.
Yeah.
He does not pull punches. He says it how it is.
Yep.
He acknowledges that there is a likelihood, there's a chance that whoever does not ultimately win the quarterback battle does transfer out, because that's the way the college game is played. Both of these guys, in Thompson and Card, are good enough to be Power 5 starting quarterbacks. Will it be Texas or somewhere else? And Dicker with the punt into the end zone for the touchback.
To your point, that's a tough place to.
Texas Game Day Final, it's coming up. Alex Loeb and the guys, presented by AT&T 5G. Do you see our beautiful spot that they're building for us in the new south end zone?
You got some nice dibs over there, man.
Yeah. I mean,
good.
next time you see it, does this telestrator work? What if I did this? Nah, it's not that. Well, anyways, that little overhang there on the left side of your screen, that's going to be the new perch for Texas Game Day. So next time you see it with the season opener getting ready for Louisiana, that's where we're going to be hanging out. How about that end zone,
That's
though?
nice, man.
Completely
really
changes the dynamic inside this stadium. Look at this. Casey Thompson is back out with 3:40 left. Now the clock stops, right? So this is another opportunity to simulate what they really will see on Saturdays when we compare it to real game situations.
Yeah, situational football where you try to create a game-type scenario within a spring game or a scrimmage or whatever it is you want to call it.
I love this. We never see this late in the game. You're starting potential quarterbacks still playing. Overthrown for Jordan Whittington.
Yeah, he's throwing a corner out against a 2-deep look. That is, as a quarterback, you got to bend that receiver towards the sideline. He's trying to bend, take him there. Becomes almost like an out route rather than a corner route.
3rd and 2, 3:14 remaining for Casey Thompson and Team Orange. You know what he's thinking. End zone, 2-point conversion. At least let's tie this game.
Well, he got O'Mary open right now. Big fella in the slot.
Ojimo with the sack. And he has been active all afternoon long.
That's number 2 for him, isn't it?
And here is Moro Ojimo getting into the backfield.
Yeah, he got by the true freshman Hayden Connor, Katie Taylor High School. A lot of experience you're faced with right there.
Well, check it out.
Two rival high schools, Katie and Katie Taylor, lining up across from one another.
Bring that rivalry. The University of Texas. Flag on the kick. And Bijan, we saw, he's getting at least attended to on the sideline, perhaps looking at his ankle. And we'll see here on the play.
Illegal substitution. Defense had 12 players at the snap. Penalty is declined.
So he's holding his left ankle, and you can see that's where he was wrapped up by David Binda. Looks like everything's okay. Keep that guy healthy. That's going to be the one you build around.
That's why, you know, with everybody else on the field, you can protect the quarterback, Casey Thompson, so you see why he and Hudson Card are still in the game, but that's the franchise right there.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and take the rest of the afternoon off, big guy.
And Hudson Card is coming out. The fans have showed up, free attendance, and, man, they are getting a show today. The debut of Steve Sarkisian in front of the Texas faithful, because he is playing his stars up until this final whistle.
This is a true evaluation at that position.
And there is Kai Money. And Money has been the guy at receiver for Hudson Card, a reliable target, former walk-on, and he actually was a key member of this receiving corps a year ago. We were calling the game when he found himself surprisingly in the end zone, and it wasn't just garbage time after that. Card, another bullet, this time through the hands of Kai Money. Now, after this, Sarkisian getting everybody together on Monday. They've got those one-on-one, almost interviews. They're going to go through everything that went down the spring, probably project to the fall as well, and everybody's going to know where they stand After that, who knows? Maybe some action when it comes to that transfer portal. Guys leaving, guys showing up.
That's a great point. And in that information, as he passes out the information, it's, hey, take care of yourself, be smart.
There's Roschon Johnson. Brockemeyer can't get him. He tiptoes down the sideline before falling out.
Your training doesn't stop here. It's what you do in the off season when you're away from the program, how you take care of your body, and you come back for fall camp and fall evaluations. Be a better player when you come back, because that matters. It's spring, it doesn't stop. They're going to evaluate from the summer and how players look and the type of shape they're in once they come back.
Yeah, the strength and conditioning coach, Torrey Beckton, that's going to be the man of the offseason. There is Woodard as Card continues to move the offense. He's had a very strong second half, 18 yards there.
I'd always find a class or two to take in the summer so that I didn't have to leave campus. So the weight room was right there. I mean, literally across the street. And first thing you do, you go get that workout in and go to class, and then the afternoons were for throwing and catching.
Beckton comes over from California. He was a former strength and conditioning coach under Sarkisian when he was there at Washington, and completely turned around that Huskies program in his first shot as a college football head coach. Hudson Card, a little more quiet, a little more reserved than Casey Thompson. Ultimately, comes down to who moves the offense, who will put points on the board.
Well, Sark talked to us about the red zone, right? And how the orange team has gotten themselves down and unable to cash in. Hudson Card could go do himself a mile of good right here if he's able to get inside the 20-yard line and then find a way to get in the end zone.
Card over the middle, Roschon. Tackle is made by Brockemeyer. 1:30 on the clock.
I'll tell you what, I've been impressed with both running backs from a standpoint of catching the ball out of the backfield, both with excellent hands, Robinson and Johnson. No fall off when you ask them to do that.
Card pressured, they will whistle this one dead. Jeb Bush with the sack. What were you seeing there?
Well, that's where you got the one message that you're telling him as you're trying to score in a 2-minute drill is you cannot take a sack. It's the #1 rule in the 2-minute drill. Showing a little bit of inexperience there by holding on to the ball. It should be, it's basically out or thrown away. So I don't lose the sack yardage. I want at least to keep the field goal attempt, but let's push it into the end zone. And when you're on your back, you can't do that.
And that was the point that Sarkisian made to Don Davenport at the break when he said, understand the situation, when he was asked about that pick six thrown from Thompson to Jamison. 3rd and 13. If it's just about the dub, Team White could drop on a knee and wrap this one up. But Card wants those points, and another pressure and another sack by Prince Dorba. And Dorba has also had a standout afternoon.
So now you play the what-if game if you're Sark, is that, okay, we needed 3 points to get to overtime or maybe to win the game, and you take 2 sacks in a row, pushing us out of field goal range. So that will be the message to Hudson Card, that you cannot take the sacks. Even though you got one of the better kickers in the country, you don't want to put that kind of pressure on him when you're at point-blank range.
And Cameron Dicker lines up for the 51-yard attempt. Had a 58-yarder earlier in this game. And it has been nails. This one sells wide right. No good. First miss from Cameron Dicker. So that's an empty drive where you were set up in prompt position to do some big damage, to try to emulate critical situations, and you come up empty.
Yeah, I don't need to be in that room to know what the conversation is going to be, and it's about red zone offense. Taking care of the ball, knowing the situation as you just described that he relayed to Don before that, right after the interception. That will be the point of emphasis in fall camp, is we've got to score in the red zone.
And Kyle Flood, offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, going over those points with Hudson Card. So now we got 59 seconds left, and it's Casey Thompson's turn to try to do some damage and tie this one up. Thompson to O'Meary. That's way off. Sean Jamison there in coverage. It's just good to see O'Meary back. He will be full go for fall camp and should be a factor in the conversation as to who will be the go-to receiver for whoever the quarterback is.
They talked to us about O'Meary, and really started to come on the last week or so of camp.
Thompson with time. He will tuck and run. Thornton is there to make the stop with 46 seconds left.
Third down, still got the timeouts, but not going to use them.
Over the middle. And
nice
physical run out to the catch by Gabriel Watson.
Well, he's looked good today.
Yeah. In the discussion to be that number 3 running back. And you see the big body there. Both Robinson and Johnson physical, but Watson takes that to another level. Quick pass to Jared Wiley, brought down inbounds by David Binda.
He's got some big targets to work with. Epps, Wiley, 6'6", 6'7", respectively.
I'm trying to figure out if they are stopping the clock here, calling a timeout, or letting it run and play. Some confusion there. It is a spring game. It basically comes down to whatever Sark really wants. That's going to happen here in the final 8 seconds.
If he wanted to put another 5 minutes on, he could do it. Hail Mary time?
Why not? And you see the Texas secondary backing up. Jaron Thompson, Brendan Schooler playing back at the 10-yard line.
Hook and ladder action.
Would that count as a trick play? Because those apparently have already been used up. 8 seconds left for Casey Thompson. See him test the arm strength here. Anyone looking for O'Meary, he sees it late in and out of the hands, and Jamison almost did Thompson dirty again.
Leave 5 alone, man. Playmaker.
And does that end the game or not? They're trying to figure this one out as the clock strikes 0.
Creating every situation that you could possibly think of, and there have been many created by Sark in this spring game. This is a good job of coaching and maximizing a situation in a spring game.
Could be the final play. Thompson buying time, running for his life. Jacoby Jones trying to bring him down. Thompson will give it a heave. Looking for the end zone. It's going to be short and picked off to wrap this up by Keaton Crawford. Team White takes down Team Orange 20-12. That was the team led by Hudson Card. What was your biggest takeaway on that?
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of talent here for a first-year head coach, and a lot in the cupboard. He's going to build on that. Going to make sure that this team's prepared and ready. You see that with the scenarios that he's painting throughout the spring game. I think Texas is a team in 2021 that can really keep an eye on.
And this is just the first step. A lot to happen. Meetings coming up on Monday with all the players. And then into the fall. Preparing for the season opener against Louisiana. The biggest question for Sarkisian will be, who is your starting quarterback? Will it be Casey Thompson? Will it be Hudson Card? That brings us to the end of this orange and white game here on Longhorn Network. Team White takes it 20-12. Texas game day final with Alex Loeb and the fellas coming up next. Well, for the first time since a special committee was put together to look into the eyes of Texas, the school alma mater will play after that committee found that the school song was created in a racial setting, but not with racist intent. So the eyes of Texas will come on in a moment, and then we will kick it over to Texas game day final as Steve Sarkisian breaks it down with his players post-game.
I can tell you, it's always a pleasure when we get together. Always have a good time, have some fun, and we need to do this more often.
Sounds good, my friend.